All right, as we start part two of the series, the Mirror March series, we are talking about trauma today and how to move past things. And I came out here, I wanted a scenery that was kind of my end game for how I want you to feel when you're done watching the video, which is I want you to feel peaceful. You hear the birds chirping, you can't see it, but there are a couple of ducks in the water. And I just really wanted you to feel that you can get past the trauma, that you can do it. I think all of us have dealt with some things that may have traumatized us. And so one of the best definitions I found for the word trauma is a terrible event that has not been adequately processed, understood, or dealt with. And so when I think about that, it makes me say that trauma basically is something that has no resolve. It has not been resolved yet. You're still facing that thing as if it happened, like it just happened. So when we start to deal with trauma and getting past it, there are a few things I feel that we can do in order to get past trauma. And that's all I want to share with you today, is how I feel and what I believe will help you. All right. So if you find anything of value in this video, share it with somebody. Please like it. It'll be on my YouTube channel, Christ Butler. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel as I post these videos as well. But I want to start by using an analogy, and I want to do this because this is a little more soft toned as opposed to you dealing with whatever the traumatic experience was you may have dealt with, but it still applies. Okay. So say, and some of you have dealt with this, but say you get bit by a dog. All right. You get bit by a dog. And when you get bit by the dog, you now feel like all dogs will bite you. For the most part, if it was traumatic to you, not people who get bitten don't care, but people who have been bitten by a dog and it was traumatic, you now feel like all dogs are going to bite you. And so what you start to do is that whenever you see a dog, you feel this fear, this panic, you feel this sense of urgency to protect yourself. And this is what trauma does. Traumatic things will cause us to feel like this. And although in that example, it's a dog bite, there are many people who have dealt with physical, mental, emotional, these things of abuse. And so we recognize all things, or what you start to do, how I want to say it is, remember they used to have this thing out, and I'm probably going to date myself, but it was a little red thing, and you would clamp it and it would show you different pictures, but it will ultimately recycle. So you were seeing the same pictures. And if you would let me paint the picture like this, I feel like what trauma does is it causes you to kind of have one of those pictures and put that picture against everything that even has any kind of feel that is that. So if you've been emotionally abused or you've had any kind of emotional trauma, you tend to do things because you feel like emotionally it's going to affect you. Or if a person is trying to get close to you, maybe you had a traumatic experience where you let somebody get close to you and then they hurt you or physically abused you or verbally abused you. And so when you hear certain words, it may be triggers now that this is my trauma showing itself. And trauma is one of those things where you have to be honest with yourself that it's real. I don't understand, and I don't want to get off on tangents, but I don't understand how we often will belittle certain things in our lives that are serious issues. And we'll move past them, and we'll try to move past them and say, oh, it's not going to affect me that much. It's not hurting me that much. But ultimately, it is affecting you a lot. You're still dealing with that same thing from 4 and 5 years ago that you said was traumatic, and you've tried to push it out your brain. But the truth of the matter is it's still traumatic. And trauma has a way of causing real damage. It can cause real damage. So I don't want to make these videos too long, but I do want to give you this now with going along with the dog bite. So you have a dog, you've been bitten by a dog, it was traumatic for you. So now every dog you see is out to bite me. Every dog I see is out to bite me. And this may help some people who may have even left church or stop attending ministries because maybe you dealt with something traumatic in the church. or something like that. I just want to deal with real issues. I want to try to help you to say, you know what, I'll try it again. I'll try church again, or I'll try this again, or love, or whatever it may be, getting past trauma. But say you got bit by the dog. Now, every dog you see is out to bite me, right? This is how we feel if it was traumatic. So you're walking, the dog approaches you. You see a dog coming up to you. I want to give you this key. There are 3 F's that I want you to remember in dealing with trauma, all right? And what you have to remember is that we normally know the first 2, but we forget about the 3rd one, which is the most dangerous. So the first one is you're either going to fight, you're either going to flee. You know, we heard fight or flee, but the one we forget about the most is you're either going or you're going to freeze. Now, I want you to hear this. Why freezing is the most dangerous, I'll get to that. But let's say fighting is at least giving me a chance to survive this. If I fight, I can potentially face this trauma. I can face this thing that I'm dealing with head on, go against it. Don't try to deny that it happened. I can fight. You can flee, which is I can run from this thing, and there is a small percentage still that you may get away. This is how you got to look at trauma. I can either fight it, face my fear, I can run from it, which is honestly just a result of fear making you run, and I still have kind of a chance that I'll get away, and maybe I'll outrun the dog, right? Or the trauma. Maybe I'll outrun it. But lastly, and what most people do is that most people freeze. And let me tell you why freezing is dangerous when it comes to trauma. Because if I freeze in the midst of my trauma, I'm not giving myself a fighting chance. I'm not even giving myself a chance to get away from it. I'm simply stuck in the face of trauma. I'm either going to fight trauma, which is the best result. I'm either going to flee from the trauma and try to run and outrun it and outlive it, which is what some of us do, and why we see it pop up randomly after so many years, because we've tried to outrun our trauma and it has not been beneficial or helped or successful. But majority of the people who will listen to this are perhaps sitting in a place where you've allowed trauma to make you freeze. This is a dangerous place to be in, because you're frozen in the face of the dog, in the face of the trauma. You have your whole mind has shut down. Because of what happened, I can no longer move. I can no longer create progress because I'm frozen in the place of trauma. Whatever this is that happened to me caused me to freeze. And if we're honest with ourselves, and that's what Mirror March is about telling the truth about what has happened to your life, how you have responded to it, what you are doing to help yourself to be a better person. If you are frozen in that place, this is what I want to help you with. If you say, listen, I tried to fight it before, it didn't work. Tried to run from it, it didn't work. Then the next time when I faced it, I did freeze. I don't even know. Everything shut down. I just don't know what to do. I want to perhaps help you even the more to say that, will you try to fight again? I want to ask you this and talk to yourself. Will you look yourself in the mirror and say, I need to fight the trauma again? Because the thing about trauma is that, yes, it may quiet down for a minute. The trauma may be silent for a little while, only because maybe the triggers or the right things have not made it lift up his head or made it stand up. But after a while, if you do not fight the trauma, that same trauma is going to present itself, and you're going to still be forced with the same 3 questions again. Are you going to fight the trauma? Are you going to flee from the trauma, or are you going to freeze in the midst of the trauma? I'm encouraging you to fight. I don't want to keep the videos long, and so in my closing of the video, I want to give you a few things. I want to give you 5 things that will help you to move past the things of trauma. 5 things. And again, remember, share this with somebody. Share it on your page. Like the YouTube page. Subscribe. It's right under Christ Butler. Easy to find. All right. 5 things or steps to get past trauma. All right. First step is try to keep a normal routine. And so what this means is that don't allow trauma to shut you down. Don't allow the trauma to make you feel like now you have to be in a box, that now you have to make yourself be hidden from the world. Try to stay in your normal routine. Before the trauma, stay in your normal routine. I keep using the dog analogy. You used to run around the block when this happened. Try to make up your mind. That's happened. I'm going to start running again, right? Just as a point of reference. Let me run my little course again. Number 2, find ways to relax. The opposite of your trauma, which is to be tense, to be, antsy or whatever, is to relax. Find ways to relax. You only know the ways you like to relax. Find ways to relax yourself, to be in a place where you can meditate on just dealing with the trauma, but in a relaxing way. Yeah, the trauma happened, but I'm going to relax. Number 3, this is a big one that many of us won't do. Talk and share your trauma. Now, this is not advice to go tell the world your business. All right. I'm not saying that, but there are healthy conversations and people that are good. Your pastor, your spouse, someone who you trust, who you know will not just want to have information on you, but want to help you. Find a way to talk and to share. We won't understand ever, I don't think, the power of speaking, the power we have to actually say something. Even when it comes to our temptations, the power to expose, it's powerful. It takes the air out of it to be able to say to somebody, this is what's going on. This is what I'm dealing with. This is where my mind is. Learn how to talk and share. Number 4 is, here we go, view your future with optimism. See your future being a future with no trauma. See it being a thing of, because remember, trauma is something that has not been adequately processed. So if you're dealing with trauma, it's because you haven't dealt with it. That's really, it sounds funny, but if you're dealing with trauma, it's because you haven't dealt with the trauma. And so you have to process this. So see your future with optimism. I will be trauma-free. That thing that caused the trauma won't make me respond the way I've responded in the past. I will be okay. And lastly, and this is one that the church folks might throw something at me, but get professional help if you need it. Now, look at your neighbor again and tell them, get professional help if you need it. There's something particularly, and y'all can leave negative comments on my YouTube if you want to, in the African American church, where we have this thing of trying to shout and dance over certain issues, that we feel that if we praise break over certain things, it'll be better. And most times it's temporary. It's at that moment, yeah, it feels better. You lose a loved one, we go shout and we go dance. We got the victory, and then we get home by ourselves, we feel depressed because while we was in the church, the music sounded great, but we're not actually processing what has happened. And so if you need professional help, get professional help. Go see somebody. Go talk to somebody if you need the help. Don't feel like, oh, I'm not saved now because I went to see somebody. We got to get out of the mindset of these things, and because we need to be whole spiritually, emotionally, even physically. We have to do things toward wholeness, right? I don't believe, this is just me, I don't believe that Jesus would want us trying to minister to people, trying to witness to people of his goodness, and they can look at us and say, but you still need a lot of help yourself that you won't deal with. Let's do the work. Let's process it. Let's go through what we have to go through so that we can have a year. Listen, set yourself a goal. By 2023, no more trauma. What I dealt with will be over with. I will no longer be dealing with this thing. I'm going to be a new person. I'm going to feel different. I'm going to feel better. And I'm going to walk in the victory of what I have. Listen, please share this video with somebody. Let them know. Just listen to the young man for a few minutes. You may get something from the video. But I want you to remember, you have to process it. You have to deal with it in order for it to be dealt with. So until next time, in our part 3 of the series, I'll see you. I love you with the love of God, and there's nothing you can do about it. God bless you.